Alrighty, thank you very much everybody for joining us today. What we're going to be doing is going over the transitioning from BIM 360 into the Autodesk Unified platform. And we're going to talk specifically a little bit about Autodesk Build and a couple of things. Now, a couple of things. For the duration of the webinar, everyone's going to be on mute. However, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them into the questions window. I'll be keeping an eye on that throughout the whole thing. And if there are questions in there, I'll try to answer it as we go through. Just a couple of things. Microdesk is who I work for. We're putting on the presentation. And we are an AECO technology consulting firm. We've been around since '94. We have 13 locations across the US as well as in the United Kingdom. And we've worked on projects all over the world with a lot of different clients, and from mom and pop shops to huge multi-thousand work clients. Our team is over 300 professionals coming from the industry. I worked as an architect for about 10 years before moving into this. A lot of my teammates followed similar pursuits where they worked in construction, engineering, design, manufacturing. So we all come with a knowledge of not just how the tools work, but how the actual industry and how the jobs work. Now, kind of things that we're really focused on at Microdesk these days is globalization, urbanization, and sustainability. So we see globalization as a driving force across everything. And we're noticing that over the next couple of years, we're going to start seeing more and more people flocking into urban centers, which is interesting because even after the pandemic, we're still seeing that. And as a part of that, sustainability is a very large thing that we have to focus on and very important thing worldwide. So utilizing the different tools to help with design, help through construction and operations to fulfill those needs, to make sure that we're helping out with sustainability, that we're focused on urbanization and making life and the world a better place with the tools is a large focus of what we do. And we do that with a lot of different services. We have our own teams for application development. So we don't farm anything out. We do scripting, we do customization, we do training, pretty much anything from soup to nuts. And we do that partially because we're partners with a lot of the leading teams. So we work with Autodesk, Xera, Unity, like Stanza, Bluebeam, Enscape. Basically the major players we work with, and even the ones that we aren't partners with, we've worked with in our past lives before we came to Microdesk. So we're familiar with the tools and their workflows. Now, myself, my name's Peter Marchese. I'm the Senior Technology Evangelist at Microdesk. I'm going to update this 26 years at this point. My focus these days is on the emerging technologies and on the cloud services. So I manage and work with all of the Autodesk Construction Cloud tools for Microdesk as well as some of our clients. I've been working with Revit since version, I think it was 6, and focus on content creation, standards, customization, workflows, and figuring out how to take the tools that are out there and understand what they can do, how far you can bend them before they break, and how you can fix it after they break. Now, what we're going to be talking about today is the Autodesk Construction Cloud migration. So, why are we going to be moving from BIM 360 to the unified platform? What are our options for that migration? How do we actually do that? And then what are the workflows that are currently available? And the big word there is going to be currently, because that's going to be changing as time goes on. And then Q&A at the end, but again, if you do have questions as we go through this, definitely feel free to drop those into the questions window. I'll be answering that as I go. Now, before we get rolling though, I always like to ask a couple of questions just so I know who it is I'm talking to. So it's going to launch a couple of quick polls. First one, what is your role? So are we talking to BIM managers that are trying to figure out, okay, my team's asking me about this. How am I going to deal with this? The designers who are looking to find out how best to take advantage of the new tools. How can I migrate a project that's already working over to that? Okay. Awesome, thank you, everybody. Next one, is anybody currently using BIM 360 or any of the Autodesk Construction Cloud services? And don't worry, there's only one more of these. Yeah, that makes sense. Most people are using it. Okay, and then the last one, are you currently using cloud or mobile tools? So not necessarily just the Autodesk tools, but anything to help get data out into the field. Awesome, always like seeing a big number on that one. Thank you. All right, so without further ado, let's get rolling here. So now when we're starting to talk about the migration, one of the first things that typically comes up is, okay, well, what are we migrating to and from? So now the Autodesk Construction Cloud includes a lot of different tools. So we got the Connect service, which I'll actually be mentioning later. We've got Pipe, Assemble, Building Connected, and PlanGrid, all of which came from purchases. And then we have BIM 360, which they built internally, and the unified platform, which is made up of aspects of BIM 360 and PlanGrid. So when we're talking about a migration, right now what we're talking about is migrating from a project that is in BIM 360 into the unified platform. And just to reiterate for everybody, BIM 360 had 4 main pieces. So we've got Docs, Coordinate, what was designed, now referred to as Collaborate Pro, BIM 360 Build. And that lines up pretty well with all the features that are inside of the unified platform. So when we start talking about migrating, it's not like we're crisscrossing across completely different tools. So we've got Docs to Docs, we've got Coordinate, now referred to as BIM Collaborate, but for all intents and purposes, same thing. We've got BIM Collaborate Pro in both. We've got BIM 360 Build and Autodesk Build, a lot of similarities. And then we have Autodesk Takeoff, which is brand new. So when we start looking at, okay, well, how are we getting from one package to the other? You actually have access to both. So it's not like you're moving apartments where I've got to take everything out, move, and then I can move everything in. If you own Autodesk Docs, you actually have access to BIM 360 Docs too. If you own BIM Collaborate Pro, you can build your projects on both BIM 360 or on the unified platform. So you have the flexibility of saying, okay, well, I'm gonna have some projects here and some projects there, and maybe I'll migrate this one a little bit early rather than waiting for it to finish in BIM 360. So you have that flexibility. It's not an all or nothing kind of thing. But first thing is, okay, well, why would I even think about migrating? What's really the benefit for me? The first thing that typically comes up on this is going to be your license management. When we talk about BIM 360, with the exception of the BIM Collaborate Pro, the old design, that was the BYO. Everything else was provided by the owner of the account. So if I had a project that was just using Docs and I was sharing data out, inviting people in, I provided a license for every single person that I invited. Didn't matter what they owned or if they already had it, because it's on my account, I'm providing those seats. For projects that are on the unified platform, every single service is a BYO, which means that if I'm an owner or I'm a construction manager that's dealing with tens, if not hundreds of people on a project that need to have access, I can just dictate that everybody has their own license. So that way, if I'm inviting you to the project, you need to provide the software that you're going to work with. And this is the platform that we're working on. So you no longer have to make sure that you're giving out or managing those seats for everybody. So that can take a lot of overhead away from certain companies to make life a lot easier for them to manage. So that's one big reason that a lot of people look at migrating over. Now, tied into that are some differences for the purchase options. So for Autodesk Docs, same way as BIM 360, you can purchase that as an individual or with volume pricing. BIM Collaborate, Collaborate Pro, same exact thing. Nothing's changed in terms of the purchases there. Or Takeoff, which is new, you've got that. Build, it's a little bit different, but if you've ever used PlanGrid, you've got that. Now, one of the things that they've actually recently added is an unlimited option. Now, that unlimited option ties into Autodesk Collaborate, specifically Collaborate, not Collaborate Pro, but Collaborate, Build, and Takeoff. What this means is that you actually have the ability to get project-based pricing or account-based pricing. Both of those are unlimited though, meaning you have, just like the normal options, you'd have unlimited storage, unlimited projects for the account-based. But now you're not worried about how many seats do you need. So essentially what will happen is if you're looking at this, and we've got some construction firms that prefer it to be priced by the project, it's easier to understand the software costs and to manage that and track that. What that means is that I don't have to worry about the number of seats I need for that project. Based on the project cost, you get that. Unlimited users, unlimited storage, perfect. If you are looking to just take care of it once, I don't want to have to worry about nickel and diming. I'm not looking to add on a few seats next week because we didn't realize this is going to get bigger. Account-based, boom, done, it's taken care of, it's unlimited. So those are different things that are out there. And it's one of those things, you might look at that, well, it's based on revenue. There's no way we can afford this. We've actually talked to a lot of clients, and it was surprising for us as well. Account-based is actually cheaper in many cases than just buying the individual seats. So if it's something where you don't want to have to worry about this, or you're just curious about it, definitely reach out to us. We'll be glad to sit down and go over things with you and find out if it's a better fit for you. Because this way you don't have to worry about that, the seat count, You don't have to worry about the management of everything or having to foot the bill for everybody coming to your account. Now, other aspects on this is going to be functionality. So everybody might have seen this image before where we kind of break things down. Everybody sits on top of the features of Autodesk Docs, and we've got BIM Collaborate and Pro and Build and Takeoff. The thing is, if your project is hosted on the unified platform, there's aspects of this that are available here that aren't available on BIM 360. For example, in the BIM Collaborate and Collaborate Pro, we now have access to meeting minutes. In BIM 360, that was previously something that was only available in Build. Now, if we look forward, we also have new features like progress tracking and project schedules. So the entire cost management inside of BIM 360 was an additional purchase on top of Build, whereas on the unified platform, it's actually a part of just the Build package. We also have turnover documentation. So if at the end of a project, I just want to package up all my RFIs and submittals and all the information like one button click, perfect. I can click on that and that sends it out. So there's actually specific functionality that even though they're continually developing BIM 360, they're adding new features in, they're updating things, there are certain things that still are only available inside of the unified platform. So another reason why we might want to migrate. So when we're looking at this, the big pros that typically are typically come up, we've got the BYO license model, certain functionality that's only available there, new functionality that is coming out that was in existing services like the meeting minutes, and access to these new tools. Now, that's not to say everything is perfect. There are still some reasons why a client might want to stay inside of BIM 360. And whenever we talk to our clients, we're very open about this. We want to make sure that they're making the best decisions for their needs. We're not trying to push them in an area just because we want them or Autodesk wants them. So some of the things are like if you really heavily use the mobile app and you don't have Build, you might want to stay there because in the unified platform, the mobile app requires a seat of Autodesk Build. Some of our clients really use the plans functionality that were inside of document management. When we move forward towards the unified platform, that kind of functionality is only available again in the Build package. And then there's some miscellaneous features in terms of like how some things like issues are managed and set up that are currently not available in the unified platform. So there's certain things that when we talk to a client, we try to find out, how are you using BIM 360? What are the functionality that you really like? Do you use this or that? To give them a good informed decision as to, let's stay where we are for right now, or you know what, you're going to benefit from migrating to the unified platform. So like anything else, there's pros and cons, and we're here to help out with that. Now, let's say that we've looked at this and we're ready to start moving. So there's certain things that we can and can't do as of right now, and I know this is going to be changing as time goes forward. So the first thing typically is asked for, okay, well, how can I migrate my projects? I want to hit a button and everything just happens. Now, in terms of project creation, that's one of the things that's currently not possible. Now, the graphic we're seeing here is actually a graphic that Autodesk showed during Autodesk University back in September. So the link down there is to the specific class. And it was great because they talked about what the future held for Forge, where they have all their APIs. It goes about what their roadmap is, what are they planning to put out. So certain things like the actual project management and project creating, that's on the roadmap. But right now it's not there. So if you're looking to migrate, like say 20 projects from BIM 360 to the unified platform, the project creation component of that will still need to be manual. So we can't automate that, even though we can automate project creation inside of BIM 360. So there's certain things that are still being developed. Now, in terms of document transfers, I want to move all my stuff from one to the other. We have a few options to us. From the simple standpoint, we can do it manually. I can check the boxes for my data at the root, download it, and then re-upload it. The only thing we have to watch out for is that currently there's a limit of 10,000 files inside of each download. So unless you've got a lot of projects, at that point you can pretty much grab everything in one fell swoop and migrate it all over to the unified platform. Keep in mind when you're downloading it, you're getting the latest version and not every iteration. Now, other options are third-party tools, one of which is the BIMrx Cloud Manager that we've developed. This has the ability to create automatic downloads, automatic uploads, publishing, exports out to PDFs and NWCs, as well as a bunch of other things. So if we wanted to create jobs where we can automate the process of pulling down projects and then uploading the projects, we can do that. Other things we can do for here is actually management of the projects on the unified platform and adding users to them. Now, outside of that, if we're looking for custom tools, there's things like Autodesk Construction Cloud Connect or even Forge to develop custom things. So we can set up jobs that will basically sync across. So there are certain, again, APIs that are built that are consistent and actually forward compatible. So you can create triggers that say whenever something happens in this folder, even though it says BIM 360, I can still tell it to point to a project on the unified platform. So I can set up jobs to sync or push data. And I can also customize that to actually pull across versions as well if I want those, as opposed to just the latest. So there's some options in this. Now, other things that we might look at, cloud work sharing, which is usually the second biggest thing after the project creation. Now, the API is available for this, but right now the automation is only available for 2022 projects in Revit. And this here, this screenshot is an example from Zhong Wu, who posted a cool blog post on the Forge blog that talks about how this works, and actually supplied some of the data for this on GitHub. The neat thing about this is that it still is running locally, so we still don't have the tools to enable cloud work sharing solely in the cloud. But what this allows me to do is take a project that I have on my machine, and then I can push it into the cloud. And this works both for BIM 360 as well as unified platform. I can point to both. Now, I can migrate data to the cloud from a 2021 project. The only problem is it cannot have work sharing enabled prior to running the actual service. So a couple limitations on that. Now, other things are checklists and forms. This is one of those ones where it's actually kind of nice. They make it pretty easy for us. So if I want to migrate from something from, say, BIM 360 into the unified platform, all I need to actually do, and let me actually show this one here, is come over here. I've got all my checklists inside of field management. I go to the forms inside of the unified platform, and I'm just going to say import. And that brings up the icon or the graphic that I just showed before on the slide. Now, I can even pull things from field management, or sorry, from PlanGrid, as well as field management. If I do that, then I just have to choose, okay, well, what project do I want to pull from? In this case, I have a lot of projects I can pick from. But pick on the project, and then I can choose which checklists I would like to migrate from BIM 360 into the unified platform. Now, like anything, there's always a couple of little caveats on this. The biggest caveat is that you can't have more than 20 questions in each section, and you can't have more than 20 sections. So this allows me to pull all that across those. So in some cases, you might have to go to BIM 360 and just move a question or two from one section to the next or break it up a little bit better. But once you've got that, I can push that, and any existing checklist history via the reports and printing can come across too. Now, other things that we look at, we have assets. That's a manual setup, but outside of some of the settings where you're creating asset types or other elements or like custom parameters, it's actually pretty easy to work with. So this allows me to go inside of BIM 360, export my current set, go into the unified, create asset, and then say import. So this one's actually pretty easy to get through and requires very little manual effort. So that way I can just jump from one right to the other. Now, if we are looking to do program work on this, the key thing is that the API is available and it's forward compatible, but it's currently in beta. So certain things that we might want to do wouldn't be available. Another component here that we hear a lot is cost management, and it's kind of the same thing as the assets from an ease of export and then import. So both of these have the ability to just click and export our data, import, bring in the new spreadsheet. The key thing is cost management does actually have, in some cases, I think the most customizations inside of either BIM 360 or Unified Platform. So if this is something where we were looking at for a client where they're doing a lot of work, we would look at using the API to migrate all of those custom settings. So that way everything's a little bit easier. Because in this case, the API actually is forward compatible. So we can move things using that. Now, other one, going to be RFIs. This is one of those ones where it's really going to be manual. So the API is forward compatible, but there are no attachments that I can add on this. So there's no way to really export outside of printing the history and then using that as sort of like documents that you're storing in the Unified Platform. So if you wanted to move all your RFIs across, the easiest way is going to be using program. So whether that's Workato, where you're doing more graphical programming, or Forge, where you're writing code, that would be the best way to recreate your RFIs, so that way you're not starting from scratch or doing a lot of data entry. Now, probably one of the other biggest questions we get is regarding issues. Now, currently the issues, it's all going to be manual. There's no API that's available for the unified platform's issues. However, we do have clients that are still migrating off of Field Classic, so the one that was built on Vela systems. And one of the things that we wanted to mention is that it is possible to migrate from that to BIM 360. And then once this API gets updated, we can do that too. We've actually built some tools for clients like this one, another one of our BIMrx components, where we can pull the issues from BIM 360 Field Classic and migrate that into the correct BIM 360 field management types. So there's a lot of things that you can do. There's some things that we just can't currently do based on the limitations in the API. But if there are questions on things, definitely let us know, because it might be possible for us to create something that does it for you. Now, wrapping up on this, unfortunately, there is no magic button that translates anything. So there are tools in the works that will not be released this year, but I believe are targeted still for next year to help sort of streamline some of this. But like Autodesk is showing with their 2022 vision, so our issues, our issues API will be available then. We'll have more tools for the forms or checklists. Same thing for the RFIs and submittals. So they're working on all those, but some of those things we can still get around today with other workflows or tools. And the nice thing is it's easy to see exactly what's going on with Autodesk. Within the help files of each of the different services, they have a what's new, and you can see almost every month they're adding to it. So that's not stagnant. They didn't put it out and then they kind of forgot about it. They are continually adding more components to it, getting rid of any functionality, let me rephrase that, adding any functionality that they don't currently have in the unified platform, but they do and have in BIM 360. So that way there's feature parity. And the benefit of that is that you still have access to BIM 360 with the unified platform. So it's not like an all or nothing. Well, it's not like it's all or nothing. You have the choice of going into one or the other. And I can have some projects in BIM 360 because they benefit the most from it. I can have other projects in the unified platform because the functionality or the components in it really benefit that project's work. So it's really up to you as to how it's going to work for you. And if there's problems or questions, we're happy to help out our clients and make sure it actually solves the issues and works the way that you need. Any questions? Question, will this be posted to YouTube? Yes, this is being recorded and it will be posted to YouTube probably within the next couple of days. Again, if anybody does have questions, please feel free to drop them into the questions or the chat. Another one here, is there an unlimited option for BIM Collaborate Pro? Unfortunately, not right now, no. The setup of it is the tools that are focused more for construction. So that would be Collaborate, Build, and Takeoff. Those all have the enterprise for per project or per account. So, but not Collaborate Pro as of yet, even though Collaborate Pro does include the features of Collaborate. Will there be a tool from Autodesk that does all the migration? Possibly. I've heard different things. I know it won't be released this year. I believe it's still on the roadmap for next year, but I can't say for certain. Any other questions? And actually, while people might be typing in questions, just to let everybody know, we do have a couple of upcoming events. So we have a webinar coming up on Autodesk licensing on how to demystify that. That's coming Tuesday, November 30th. We also have another webinar focusing on Collaborate Pro for Revit designs. That's going to be coming in December 13th. And if anybody does have any questions, please feel free to always reach out to us. We have our YouTube page. We also have Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all of the other ones. But if there are any questions, always feel free to reach out. We'll be glad to help out and answer any questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Have a great rest of the day.